Nepal versus India. Welcome to the ultimate showdown of which country does it better. Over the last few months, I've been traveling to both countries, India and Nepal. My name is Yad and I'm from the UK and I've loved both countries during my exploration. In this video specifically, I'm going to be showing you guys the differences between the culture, the food, the landscapes and the people, and also cost comparisons of how much things are in both countries. Firstly, let's jump into how many people actually live in these two countries. With Nepal being such a smaller country than India, Nepal's population is only 30 million people, whereas India has a population of over 1.4 billion people. So you can see how much larger the countries are. However, I feel like it's good to do a bit of a comparison in terms of the countries, because I know when I've been to both countries, there are a lot of similarities in terms of religion, food, culture, and also landscapes. Now, let's start off with some facts about these two countries. Firstly, with India. India is renowned for their cultural diversity. They boast over 2,000 distinct ethnic groups and more than 1,600 languages. That is just mind-blowing. In Nepal, despite the smaller size, a similar cultural mosaic thrives, with over 120 languages and numerous ethnic communities contributing to its rich heritage. Let's talk about Nepal's majestic Himalayan peaks. Nepal was home to 8 of the world's 14th highest peaks, including Mount Everest, the highest point on Earth. Now, let's not shy away from India being the spiritual epicenter. India's spiritual heritage is unparalleled, as it gave birth to major religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. Nepal, with Lumbini as the birthplace of Lord Buddha, holds a central role in Buddhist traditions and is a pilgrimage site for millions worldwide. Now, let's just touch on the historical ties between these two countries. India and Nepal share deep historical and cultural ties, rooted in centuries of trade, migration, and intermarriage. The two countries have also maintained a special relationship due to their geographic proximity, influencing each other's art and architecture. And let's not forget that they have open borders, so they can just go from one country to another without having to stress about borders. Okay, now that we've covered some of the important facts about these two incredible countries, feel free to drop anything in the comment section below that you feel like I've missed out in terms of the important facts. But it's now time to jump into comparing the two countries as my experience of how things were when I was there for the last few months. Number one, guys, let's start off with the people in both countries, how I can compare my experiences that I had with the Nepalese people and the Indian people. Firstly, in this section, we'll start off with Nepal. We can start with Nepal, as I've visited Nepal 2 times now, and each time I have visited, the hospitality and the warmth I felt from the local people honestly made me feel like Nepal is almost like my second home now. Mainly due to their kindness and hospitality. It doesn't matter where I go or visit in Nepal, everybody is always just so kind and always so giving and always with a smile on their face. However, there is, like in any country you go to around the world, there are occasions where things can happen. For example, when I was in Chitwan, I found out when I published my video afterwards that the barber there scammed me. So, I mean, it's just like every country that you go to, especially as a foreigner. These things happen, you always get overcharged, but apparently this dude overcharged me like 4 or 5 times the amount. So I was a little bit disappointed with that. Okay, so now we'll move on to my experience of the people and India. And wow, what can I say? It was my first time ever vlogging in India as a foreigner. And at times it was very, very intense, but at times it was also very pleasant. But the most intense time, I would say, was probably when I was in Mumbai, because Mumbai is just so hectic and busy, and people are always just on the move and not as open, as friendly as some of the other places that I visited in India. And that moves me on to Kerala, because when I was in Kerala, wow, it's just something different. The people there, the vibe, everybody's just so friendly, and I almost felt like I had been there before, because people just treat you like you're their family and they're just so hospitable and always very open to talk to you. And also, there wasn't much of a language barrier, and that's something that I actually want to touch on with Nepal as well. Nepal and India, I would say in terms of language, Both countries speak English incredibly well. However, one thing I will say with India, there are some places that I was in Mumbai, for example, some of the locals didn't speak as well English as they did the local language, which is totally fine. But when you move over to like the state of Kerala, everybody there spoke incredible English. Everyone was very, very well educated, and you can kind of feel that when you move from state to state. You can really feel the difference in education level and just how people communicate. So overall, for India, the people were, of course, were very, very hospitable and friendly. And my favorite place, I have to say, from Mumbai, Kerala and Goa, the three destinations I visited when I was in India, has to be Kerala, just because of just the way the people are, and everything is just quite people are quite switched on in Kerala. Goa is also very, very nice, but it's a bit of a holiday destination. People are a little bit more slow, laid back, and there wasn't much happening when I went there, but it's still a very beautiful destination to go when it's high season. There was something I did want to touch on in India when it came to people. When I was in Goa, and me and my friend Ollie, which we traveled together, he's from Norway, when we would go to restaurants, they would always serve our food at complete opposite times. So I would get, for example, my lunch or my chicken and chips, for example, and half an hour later, my friend Ollie would get his dish. And it was happening quite often, in a lot in Goa actually. And then it was quite frustrating at sometimes, because at some points, because when I asked the waiter, he actually kind of got annoyed at me, and he was saying that this is how we do it in India, because in India the families just want to eat straight away. So whoever's food is cooked first, they're happy to eat. Or people just share, which is fair enough. But yeah, I mean, half an hour apart, that was a little thing that kind of caught me off guard a bit. Guys, I want to share something with you that I've been working on behind the scenes, and that is my content creation coaching program. This entails me working with you one-on-one for 4 weeks, where I'll teach you about content creation and how to help you live a life of traveling the world and getting paid for it. Over the last few years, I've worked with some of the biggest brands around the world and stayed and worked with some of the biggest luxury hotels around the world in some of the most beautiful locations. I've grown over 300,000 on social media across all my social media channels and have reached millions of views for all of my content. And I would love to help you on your content creation journey so you can also achieve the same results. If you want to learn more about my coaching program and how I can help you one-on-one, just send me a DM on my Instagram, which is just here, and ask me for more details. And what we'll do, we'll set up a one-on-one call where I'll be able to help you and explain everything that my program includes. Okay guys, now that brings me on to number 2, which is the food in both countries. And at this point, we are going to start off with India. And let me just start off by saying, guys, Indian food has always been one of my most favorite dishes in the world. And until today, I honestly think it probably is still my favorite dish. From the flavors, the spices, that warmth feeling it gives you when you just sit down and order a curry or a takeaway, or even when you go to a restaurant, the flavors that you feel straight away when it just comes into your mouth they just explode. And that's one reason why I just love the food in India, because so much thought and love and soul goes into the Indian food, which is just something so incredible. Now, when it comes to my experience of Indian food on my trip in India this time, unfortunately, because I had a little bit of a bad tummy from my previous trip when I was in Nepal, because I was hiking and I was just eating all types of food in the mountains, my stomach was a little bit sensitive, so I wasn't able to divulge into all the beautiful food that India has. But the curries that I did have were just exceptional. It was mainly in Kerala. When me and my good friend Ollie, which we traveled together on the trip, we always went to this one stop called Rossini's. Well, I'll just leave the video over here so you guys can see it. We ordered incredible curry dishes. It was like butter chicken. My friend got a vegetarian curry, and the butter naan bread. It's just, everything was just amazing. Chicken tikka, it came out so succulent, and oof, I can just taste it now just thinking about it. Now, for my next trip when I come to India, guys, please feel free just in the comment section below just to give me some recommendations of what you think I should order next time I'm in India in certain places, because I really want to take some recommendations with me this time, so I'm a little bit more well prepared. Right, now it's time to move on to Nepalese food. Now, I think it's quite obvious with which food I'm going to go for first. And no, it's not dal bhat, it is momos. And okay, It's Momo in Nepal, but I for some reason can't help but keep calling it Momos. And the reason why, because naturally when there's something more than one, you add an S at the end of it. But for the sake of this video, to keep my Nepalese subscribers happy, I'm going to say Momo. So Momo dish is just so fresh and good in Nepal. And for people that are not sure what that is, it's almost like a dumpling essentially. Georgian people also have something very similar, which they call kinkali, but a little bit larger. But in Nepal, they come into these small, beautiful wrapped dumpling dishes, which just taste exquisite. You can have it in buffalo, chicken, and vegetable as well, no beef. And of course, dal bhat power. Come on, guys, you can't go to Nepal without having dal bhat. And the amount of dal bhats me and my guys when we were trekking in the mountains of Nepal had, I think we had about like 2-3 dal bhats a day during the trekking, because obviously we needed all the energy. And wow. And one thing I have to say about dal bhat, guys, it tastes 10 times better in the mountains of Nepal than it did in the actual major cities that I was in. And that could be maybe because I didn't go to the right places, or in my opinion, the reason why I think that is because the ingredients the Nepalese people use in the mountains, in the Himalayas, for example, are typically very fresh. They're grown out there, so they just take it off the crops and they just cook it there and then. So you could just taste the difference when you're in the mountains of Nepal. So that brings me on to number 3, guys, is comparing the costs in both two countries. And in this occasion, I'll start off with Nepal. Cost of living is relatively cheap. Taxis, tuk-tuks, and general cost for food was extremely affordable. The most I found myself spending in a restaurant was no more than roughly 10 to 15 US dollars. And that was me treating myself to a juice, a star, a main, and even a dessert. In the UK, for example, something like that would easily cost between $40 to $50, which is just standard. So overall, I wouldn't say that's too expensive for me personally, but I know maybe for the local people that may be a little bit expensive, but I'm just giving you guys a comparison of what it's like as kind of a traveler or a foreigner. My daily expenses were no more than roughly about 20 US dollars if I didn't spend money on experiences like a food tour, for example, so it's very affordable. Now, let's talk about cost of accommodation. Of course, this can vary depending on the type of hotel you want to visit, just like anywhere in the world. However, there are many affordable options in Nepal. My general cost for a hotel was roughly around $35 to 40 US dollars. And in Nepal, there's a vast array of options, from budget hotels to mid-tier to luxury hotels. And for those of you that watched my video where I stayed in Caviar Resort in Nagakot in Nepal, that is obviously on the very high luxury side, but during that was a collaboration where I stayed with them and I got to showcase their beautiful hotel on one of my YouTube videos. But typically they charge anywhere between $500 and above for a room. But again, if you see the location, if you see the experiences that you get in that hotel, of course it is worth it for an occasion like a honeymoon or birthdays or whatever you're celebrating that's a major event. Now, in terms of value for money in both countries, firstly in Nepal, the value for money is just second to none. I mean, last year and this year I did trekking, but I'll just talk about my experience last year because it was the Everest trek. It's a bit more of a major trek. That cost me roughly about $850. And with that cost came the flights all the way to Lukla from Kathmandu, accommodation for 5 days and food for the 5 days, but obviously not snacks and anything like that. But you don't really need much of those on the way. You carry some from Kathmandu when you go. However, in terms of everything else that comes with that value, the experience, the views that you get to see, the people you meet, value for money, the second to none. And this year, when I went to Nepal, I did the Poon Hill trek, and wow, what an incredible experience that was. That roughly cost me about 350 US dollars, so just less than half the price of Everest because it's a much shorter trek. But again, one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life, Poon Hill. Now, let's talk about India's cost overall. Now, just like Nepal, I would say that it is very, very affordable. However, saying that, some cities like Mumbai, which was the first place we stayed in, the accommodation was much more expensive than the capital of Nepal, Kathmandu, for example. The options were not as vast, and I would say respectable, budget-friendly stays like Nepal had, so there wasn't many options in Mumbai. But I'm just comparing kind of major cities here. Me and my friend booked an apartment over in in Mumbai, which cost us roughly $100 per night between the two of us. And that was the best option we could find, because anything that was alternative to that was almost triple the price. So it can get very expensive when you are in a major city like Mumbai in India, because it's very well known for business people that travel there, and it's an international hub for so much that happens in India. And when it comes to transport, Nepal and India, I would say, are very, very affordable. You can order a Uber ride for something that would take maybe half an hour within the city, would cost you around 6 to 10 US dollars. So Uber does work in India, in major cities like Mumbai, whereas in Nepal they have their own app. Well, it's not Nepalese, but I think it's something in that region. It's called Pathos, and that was quite good. It's like an Uber, but again, very, very affordable. In terms of cost on a daily basis, I would say India is a little bit more expensive than Nepal for daily expenses. I would say anything between $20 to $30 I would spend in Kerala, Mumbai and Goa when I was in those three major states. And the reason that the cost was a little bit higher in India, I would say, mainly because of the restaurants. Me and my friend Ollie wanted to make sure that we dined at the correct restaurants of good ratings, because we've heard obviously in India before going that you need to make sure you eat at the right place, because food can really give you an upset stomach, and that's something we really did not want, especially because if we get sick we lose a big chunk of our trip and we're not able to film enough videos. So we're always very, very careful on these things. So that's why I would say cost was a little bit more, because we dined at, I would say, a little bit more on the higher end restaurants than we would kind of on mid to low range places. In terms of comparison for cost of living when we were there, I would say India is a little bit more expensive, or actually a little bit more expensive than Nepal when it comes to accommodation. We found ourselves always spending that little bit extra, $20, $30 per night, maybe even in some places, especially in Kerala when we stayed in Kochi. Kochi was very, I would say, quite expensive for the places that we stayed in. And for the place I stayed in, Kochi, was about $75 US per night. That was a little bit on the higher end because I kind of booked it very last minute. There are options which are almost half that price. There's about $25 to $30, but obviously they're just not as nice. But it all depends on what type of place you want to stay in. Typically when I go to countries, I like to, especially when I'm filming quite heavily in places like India and Nepal, because it can be quite hectic outside. I don't like to always come back to a very budget hotel, because you have a very hectic day and you're very tired. It's nice to come back to somewhere that is fully AC'd up, smells clean and fresh, and you just feel like you're at home when you come back. But however, saying that, there are times where I also will stay in a little bit more of a budget-friendly hotel. It all depends on the country. Now let's move on to the next point, number 4, which is the scenery of both countries. And on this occasion, let's start off with India first. Now, let me start off actually by saying India has 28 states, and I only visited 3 of them. So it's unfair for me to judge India so harshly or in any kind of way until I've really done at least 10 plus states. However, I will give you my genuine experience of what the states that I visited were like, and let's start off by the beauty of Kerala. Wow, what a incredible place. One of the most beautiful places I've ever been to in the world, and so underrated. Many more people should visit India, especially to Kerala, because Munnar was just incredible. The beautiful waterfalls that we saw there, the landscapes, the tea plantations, all of the people that we met there were just so friendly. That even makes the environment even more beautiful. The Arampali waterfall that we visited was just the Niagara Falls of India, and now I understand why they call that place the Niagara Falls of India, because of how vast and stunning that place actually is. And I was told in the comment section in the videos that I should visit during rainy season because it's just unrecognizable, and I did have a look on some videos or some pictures of where it looks like in rainy season, and it looks like this, and wow, it does look like Niagara Falls. When I was over in Mumbai is a very hectic and busy city. It's not very well known for scenery and beauty. It's mainly kind of the business hub of India. However, I did visit the Elephant Island and also the Gateway of India, which I actually found was stunning. I loved it. It was so busy though, hundreds and hundreds of people, and it was a weekday as well. And I really loved the Elephant Island when we were on the boat ride and coming back during sunset. I actually felt like I was in Thailand. It was like a tropical island type of feel, until we actually reached back to the port where we got off the boat and everything just started getting all hectic and crazy again, just like any major city. And then Goa is just a tropical paradise, very, very laid back, hippie vibes. Food's okay, could be a little bit better. But yeah, Goa is a great place to take your family and even just some friends and have a good time with, relax on the beach, catch a suntan, and just take those waves in. Now, when it comes to landscapes and scenery, it's time to move on to Nepal. And I think everybody knows what Nepal is known for. And it is the landscapes and the beautiful scenery that you do see when you actually go there. So it's almost like a no-brainer when it comes to who wins this one for me. And for me personally, it has to be Nepal, just because of the vast landscapes of Mount Everest, in Pokhara when I woke up in the morning one of the days and I just had that incredible mountain view ahead of me where I saw the Shark's Tail Mountain, which is actually a holy mountain in Nepal. It was just such an experience to wake up and see that. And also the Fua Lake, it was just something like out of a fairy tale movie. And when you're in the Himalayas and you're trekking and you just see all the different views, the experiences, the rivers that flow. Now, I'm not saying that India doesn't have all of these. And like I said, I've only been to 3 states in India and I know there's 28. So I've got 25 more states to see. And I'm sure there are beautiful places to see as well, just like Nepal. But because obviously I've seen all of it in Nepal so far, that's why it wins it for me, because it's just such an amazing experience. And Poon Hill, which I went to this year, you don't have to be a professional trekker. You can be a beginner. You can take it slow. For anybody that wants to go to Nepal and trek, I highly, highly recommend it, guys. Go there, do it, do Poon Hill first, because it will change your life. It's very, very challenging. However, it's very, very rewarding, because once you reach the Poon Hill area on the top, you just have your masala chai. It's a bit chilly, it's cold, but everyone's in good spirits. You look around, you can see the Annapurna range of mountains. It's just such an incredible experience, guys, and you can just see it here over the video, me just walking around enjoying the place. And just, yeah, I could easily just camp there if it's possible, you know. Maybe that's something I'll do in the future if it's allowed. Now, personally for me, guys, it's going to be very, very difficult to pick a winner here. And I think it's unfair on one of the countries, India, because it's got 28 states and I've only done 3. However, in Nepal, I've visited many of the major cities like Kathmandu, Pokhara, Chitwan, and Bhaktapur, which is like 3 or 4 major places in Nepal. So, but I would still like to give a conclusion to this video in terms of which was my favorite during my experience in both countries. Now, Kerala really budged up a lot of points for me when it came to India, because I just love everything about it. Every time I think about Kerala, I just can't wait to go back to India to experience it again. But I think on this video specifically, if I have to conclude which country wins it for me on all the points, it has to be Nepal, just because I've seen more of it. But it doesn't mean that that's going to be everybody's decision. So I would love for you guys in the comment section below, please let me know which country you prefer and why that is. Or maybe you love both of them equally. Now, guys, overall, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Comment, share, do anything that would help this video, because it helps more than you can imagine. And I just want to say a huge thank you to both countries, India and Nepal, for hosting me in your incredible countries, and for the people in the comments and just the amazing people that I've met in both countries. Thank you so much for all your kind words, comments and hospitality. I can't wait to return. And also, guys, I am thinking of making a video about India versus Pakistan, because I visited Pakistan about a year ago, filming a big series there, and I saw a lot of the country. If that's something that you guys want me to do, just say yes, please. Make the video in the comment section below, and I'll make that video for you guys as well. And as mentioned earlier, if you also want to join my coaching program where I teach you one-on-one, don't forget to drop me a message on my Instagram, which is just here, where we can set up a one-on-one call and I can explain to you what my program entails and how I'll be able to help you. But anyway, guys, I'll see you on the next video.